Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson. This is EDL 854 Case Study Missing Booster Club Funds. First, we're going to look at George Washington Middle School. It has a low socioeconomic status due to parents taking their families to move to the suburbs, and the families that can afford are working in the textile mill. And as they are able to afford to move out or get new jobs, it has caused a decrease in attendance. So the 450 students is still going down by the year. Daniel Stevens is a great principal. He works well with the PTA and booster clubs. He kind of depends on them as extra help because he does not have an assistant principal. And Mrs. Alice Bowman is one of those that contributes her time regularly to the PTA. Her daughter attends George Washington School. She's a very successful cheerleader, and she has made the all-state cheerleading tryouts. And like I said before, Miss Alice Bowman collects gate proceeds and does a lot to help with the school and working there. First, we're going to look at the problem identification and analysis. What do I know? The first problem is that Miss Bowman requested the PTA fund Lucy's trip was almost $800 to New York, and the school refused to pay for that because the trip did not benefit the entire school population or the like basketball funds would have supported the basketball team, but it would have supported the entire basketball team. And so even if she made money helping with the cheerleading, with the cheerleaders, it wouldn't have benefited all of them. So the school said no to paying for just her to go. And I do know that the night that the $50 bill went missing, Mrs. Bowman was working the basketball admissions that day. What do I need to know? First of all, the case study said that typically there are 4 people working to work concessions and to work with the ticket taking and collecting of fees. However, it did not state if somebody was sick that night, if there were actually 4 people working. So I really need to know if there are multiple people collecting fees and handling the tickets and the money that night. And also, I think it is very odd that 10 consecutive tickets were destroyed by tearing them. And the way we all know how tickets are pulled off of a spool, it's highly unlikely that 10 tickets would actually be torn so bad that they couldn't use them. And also, where is that $50 bill that the gentleman said that he used to pay to get into the basketball game? Because when the funds are collected, it was gone. However, you know, she could have traded some smaller bills for that big bill, and it could be in somebody else's pocket because they traded some 1s or 10s or 5s in case he accidentally, you know, ran them dry on change. So there's one possibility, but I really need to know where that $50 bill is. Identifying the problem. First problem that I recognized was the supervision and money collection and accounting, because there really should have been multiple people for sure handling the money and giving the tickets out. One person should have collected the money, one person should have given the ticket. There should not have been one person doing both. We're not for sure if that happened or not. And just making the accounting documents a little more clear, because she stated so many tickets were gone, and it was just very iffy the way that all happened. And again, what happened to the tickets? How did they get ripped up so bad? You know, again, very unlikely pulling them off the reel that 10 would have gotten destroyed to where, and then I know she just discarded them, but I really need to know what happened. And I know that money is missing, that $50. It's kind of awkward that the $50 is missing when there are also 10 tickets that have been destroyed. There's just that correlation that just doesn't add up. So my proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies is, first, I would confront Mrs. Bowman. Say, hey, I know that there was a $50 bill given and I know that there are 10 tickets, and see what she says. And I would also request that $50 reimbursement. You know, that's if we can prove that she had taken it. The hardest part right now is proving that she actually took the $50. And then once we get her statement and everything, we need to take actions as necessary to deal with the theft. To do this, we need to implement the plan. I have to document the entire conversation with Mrs. Brown, what she said, the time and date that she said it, and just record, her exact feeling of what occurred that night. And I will also conduct an audit of all tickets and ticket sales immediately. And then I will request for Mrs. Bowman, depending on what we found out, to step down from the PTA and definitely contact the accounting department to let them know that some suspicious activity has been going on. Next, we're going to resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. What I think is best for the students is, as stated earlier, the PTA funds are used for the entire student body. They cannot be used for just one student, and it has to be in a written policy. Everybody has to know and understand what's expected in money collection, what's expected for use of PTA funds. Also, I think it would be best if the principal would ask some of his staff members to help volunteer, overseeing volunteers. That way, it just gives a little bit more with the check and balances when the reconciliation of money takes place. Debrief the problem. What was I thinking and feeling? I feel that Mrs. Bowman should have never asked for the money. I think being head of PTA, she should have understood what was the use for that money, and it wasn't right for her to ask for it to just be used on her daughter. I think there was some issues with the policy, just that they might have let it slide a little bit, that maybe just Mrs. Bowman was taking money that night. I think everybody needs to review the policy, make sure it's a nice, strong policy that everybody must comprehend and use every time they handle the money and dealing with PTA and PTA funds and Booster Club funds. But I'm also very saddened because with this whole theft, it could change Mrs. Bowman's world, and it's going to look bad on Lucy. And Lucy had nothing to do with this. She's very talented. Excuse me. And therefore, in the end, she's probably likely going to be somewhat punished because of her mom having to deal with some possible legal issues now. And I meant punish in just the way that things are going to change with the way students act towards her. Possibly, I hope not, but maybe the way the staff respond to her. So, and she possibly might not be able to take the trip. So it makes me very sad that a mom would actually, if she's done that, do it because of the way it affects her daughter. What issues are still unresolved or open to further investigation? Was the $50 actually used? He could have just stated having those larger bills in his pocket, doing the, oh yeah, I had to pay for a 50 get in. But did anybody actually see him use the $50? Was it, like I said, used to change out to make smaller bills? And so I'd really like to know about that $50 bill a little bit closer. And are there activities that Lucy can participate in to earn money? I think maybe the principals, the staff members can come up with ideas and get Lucy out in the community to earn the money for her trip. Get some of her friends together that are willing. Maybe she could do a car wash or something that's outside of school ran activities, and just talking to the staff and principal and maybe coming up with some ideas that she could do, volunteering to babysit kids that are within the school, or just anything that Lucy can do to help earn that money and still take her trip. And I'd really like to know how Mr. Stevens responded knowing that $50 was gone. I think it's it's very important to know how they respond, so that way you know the next steps to take. To promote the academic success and personal well-being of every student by ensuring effective and efficient management of the school or district to promote student learning and academic learning was by creating set expectations. Again, create those policies and procedures, let everybody know what's expected, have them read them, sign off, and make sure that they understand, and make sure that they understand if theft or anything like this occurs, there could be legal actions taking place. PTA funds should be for the entire school body, not just one individual. I think that even students need to understand why there is, admission at the door, and the concessions are a little bit more than what you'd buy a Snickers for at the convenience store. Just kind of understand those PTA funds are there to support them and help their school. And also make sure 2 people are handling tickets and collecting funds. One person, again, takes the money, the other person hands out the ticket. That's the only way to run it effective and efficiently and minimize the possibility of theft. Promoting social learning of every student. Again, meet with not only the parents and the staff, but meet with the students so they understand what PTA and booster clubs support. It's their new jerseys for basketball, it's their cheerleading skirts, it's the band uniforms, that they are actually taking ownership of the PTA and booster club as well, and understanding that this is only to benefit them and making their school a better place. And it gives students community resources to earn money individually. Like I said, have Lucy go out, come up with ideas, get the students out in the community, because we know community relations are very important. So the more and more we see students volunteering and doing things and trying to earn money by helping out, then it not only helps them and the school, but also it helps out in the community. Always teaching our students honor, integrity, and respect. They must know what these mean, and that way they can use them in their everyday life. Promoting student academic learning. I would like the students to be taught accounting practices. I think students should know how to balance a checkbook. I think they should know how to, when I purchase something, this is how it comes out, and how to make deposits, and how to make withdrawals, and making it all balance in the end. I also think teachers should teach students that they need to work together to create a check and balance system. If I hand out this ticket, then you should have this much money. And just making it a whole circle of working together, because if one area fails, so does the next. So just making sure they check and balance each other. I know this was PTA related with funds missing, but this is also an opportunity to teach our children. The next is the concept of loss prevention. I think a lot of students aren't really aware of this term, and understanding if one thing is stolen, then it affects everybody down the line. So if you steal a CD, it makes the store raise their prices, and then it costs you more to purchase. So one person taking a CD, then it affects everybody down the row. And I just think the idea of the loss concept prevention, another idea is, eating that donut that your buddy may have given you because he's selling it to raise money for the PTA, but eating that donut costs the PTA money, and now they're also losing money from not getting the profits from it, but you initially ate the profit and the starting balance. So those are just a few ideas that I had, and hopefully Mrs. Bowman didn't really steal the $50. It was a huge miscommunication, but I guess I don't know if we'll ever know. So thank you. This has been a wonderful class, and I look forward to taking additional classes.